can I have one day tonight? God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Erwin Gerald Spirit of I need to give you a word on tonight. Now Samuel farewell speech. You know, he doing a farewell speech and he gonna be teaching the Israelite and letting them know their do's and don'ts what they did to God. He gonna tell it all in his speech. Now Samuel has said it gonna come from First Samuel chapter 12, 1 to 25. So Samuel said to all the Israel, I have listened to everything you said to me, and I have set a king over you. Remember they was complaining about who had asked for a king? Who asked for a king? So Samuel let them know y'all asked for a king. You know, I did everything y'all asked me to do. You know, so Samuel had continued to serve the people, you know, as their priest. You know, he had multiple hats. You know, a priest, a prophet, and a judge. You know, but Saul, you know, exercised more and more political and military control over the tribes, and he gave them what they asked for. You know, he have some skills. He never been a king before, but he have skills. He been a military and everything else, you know. So that's why his first battle, he did a good job. You know, so now you have a king as your leader, just like you asked for. You know, as for me, I am old, I'm great, you know, and my son are here with you, and I have been your leader, you know, for my youth until to this day. You know, now here I stand. You know, I testify against me in the presence of the law. You know, in his announcing, who ox have I taken? You know, whose donkey have I taken? You know, whom have I cheated? Who have I oppressed? You know, now from whose hand have I accepted, you know, a bribe to make me shut my eyes? You know, if I have done any of these things, this is speech, I will make it right. You know, he getting old. He's about his time. So he said if he did anything wrong, you know, before he closed his eyes, he will get it right. You know, so in his farewell speech, you know, Samuel had asked the Israelite, you know, to point out, you know, the wrongdoing if he had committed during this time as Israel judge. You know, so he let him know, since I was your judge, you know, point out the things you feel like I did wrong. You know, so Samuel was reminding them that he could, you know, be trusted to tell the truth. You know, so he was also reminding them that having a king was their idea. You know, not his. You know, so Samuel was setting the stage for the miracles, thunderstorms recorded in, so that the people could not blame him when God punished them for their selfish sin. See, they know they're going to get punished by God. But then now they're trying to put the blame on Samuel. You know, who told you to give us a king? Because they know God going to get on them, but they're trying to drag Samuel in, and Samuel let them know, this was y'all idea. I only did what y'all asked for. You know, so you have not cheated or oppressed us, they relied. You have not taken anything from anyone. Lame. You know, so they let him know he ain't do nothing, and now Samuel had asked him if he did anything wrong, let him know. Now the Israelites said you did nothing wrong. You know, so at first they was mad, you know, because he got Saul to be the king. You know, so he had let them know, I only did what y'all asked me to. So Samuel had said to them, the law is witness against you, and also his announced witness this day. You know, that you have not found anything in my hand. You know, he is a witness that said. You know, so Samuel let them know. He wanted to make sure y'all don't have anything against him. Remember, he a judge now. You know, so he let them know God is right here and he is my witness. Y'all say I don't have anything to do with anything, you know, I ain't do anything wrong, but God is my witness. You know, so he let them know God is his witness. You know, so in the name of progress, Samuel had been a service to Israel for many years. Now he had stooped slightly after years of carrying the weight of the governor of his shoulder. Now he's seen many things. He experienced God in many ways. So now it's time for him to step down. This is farewell speech. He let him know, I done did everything. I done served y'all for so many years. I was y'all judge, y'all preacher, and everything else. Now I'm old. I'm great. It's time for me to step down. So a handsome, strong king replaced an old great prophet. With this, a new civil governor replaces divine administration. The people rejoice, but Samuel's heart is broken. Now, Samuel still disagree how they reject God, as the king. God was the best king they had. So that's still soaking in with Samuel right now. So he said he's broken like a oak cut down. This instant strength is dismissed in the name of progress. So the prophet who spoke for God on many occasions, but now revealed that his own heart, what have I done against you? Some people confirm his innocence, but yet there is desire, not waiting. So a king who will require everything replace a prophet who asks for nothing. Samuel said, he said, I ain't never asked y'all for anything. I was a prophet that never asked for nothing, but to serve y'all the way God wanted him to serve them. So then Samuel had said to the people, it is the Lord, who appointed Moses and Aaron, who brought y'all ancestors up out of Egypt. He's saying all this here. He letting them know. Y'all reject God, but want to be for y'all here. Your ancestors, you won't be here. God had appointed Moses and Aaron to get your ancestors out of Egypt from slavery. So Samuel let the people know. God appointed Moses and Aaron, to bring your ancestors up out of Egypt from slavery. So now then he says, stand here because I am going to confront you with evidence before the law. As to all the religion act performed by the law for you and your ancestors. Now he about to tell them the whole story about the ancestors back then. Because he don't agree how they reject God. So he about to tell them how good God is. He about to tell them God's goodness. What all that God had done for your ancestors. That y'all had reject God for all the stuff that he done done. So Samuel would judge them because the law is about all the righteous act. Now he had done you and your ancestors very well. So now Samuel is telling them the story about their ancestors. So they can start fearing God, so they can start respecting God, and they know the goodness that God had done for their ancestors. This is the farewell speech. Because see, Samuel let them know I'm about to step down, so he about to teach them about their history. Since that's why I had said yesterday, that's why our history is very important. That's why our history is very important because see now he about to tell them about their history. And see, a lot of time, if we don't know anything about our ancestors, that's our history, generation to generation. They have like 4 or 5 generations back to back. They don't know anything about their first generation. That was gone. Came the second one. That was gone. Then the third. So Samuel about to tell them about their ancestors, about their generation. So after Jacob entered Egypt, Jacob, he hadn't got old. He thought his son Joseph was dead. So then, he was getting closer to his death. So they brought him to Egypt. And they cried to the Lord for help. Now Joseph's family, was in Egypt. So in the Lord has sent Moses and Aaron who brought your ancestors out of Egypt and settled them in this land. So that's why he letting them know, you're not here in this land because you deserve it. You're not here up in this land just because God chose you. You in this land because of your ancestors. God had promised them. Our God promised to get them out of slavery. God promised when you come out of slavery, I'm taking you to a land with milk and honey. So that's why Samuel is telling them all they said in this speech, but they had forgot. They had forgot the Lord, their God, so he sold them, into the hand of Sarah. And remember on Deborah, remember God had put that package out 2 months ago. Remember God had to go to Deborah in this Jezebel, this woman, to help, catch this man who was oppressing the Israelites. And they did a marvelous job, and God was in the mix also. So the commander of the army, into the hands of the Philistine in the kingdom of Moab, who fought against them. So they had forgot the Lord. That God, a lot of times some people God can do so much good things, but then a blink of an eye, you just, and that's what Samuel is telling the Israelite. All the good stuff your God did for your ancestors, and from a blink of an eye, y'all rejecting God. So full of since they forgot the law, to God and fall into adultery, which is a plain instant and proof of forgiveness, of God. For such that delay, his worship in serving Babylon, God has said to them into the hand of Sarah, captain of the host of his, army of Jerry, king of Canaan. So they cried out to the Lord. He's still talking about the answer. They cried out to the Lord and said, we have surrendered. We have forsaken the Lord and served Babylon but now, deliver us, from the hands of our enemy, and we will serve you. And that's what they always do. They always beg God to take them back. But then they go right back and do the same thing all over again. And God had to constantly keep on saying, he only do that because that's Abraham's offspring. And God had said, no matter what, I'm going to take care of your family. And that's what God is doing. Sometimes he has to discipline them sometimes. But he not going to fully abandon them. So then the Lord said to Samuel, and he delivered you from the hands of your enemy, and all around you say that you live, in safety. So long as, see, that's what Samuel is telling her. You keep on hiding about a king, but you had a real true king. That you were gonna be safe at all times. This is a God that don't sleep. They were gonna be safe in his arms all the time. Remember, he put his hand on the Philistine for 20 years. He gave them rest, from fighting a battle. And so that's what Samuel telling you. You had a true God that you were going to be safe. He always come up with a plan. Every time the Ammonites or anybody wants to fight against him, God was a king that he come up with an idea of how he gonna go around and do this and do that. I'm gonna sort everything out. Then I'm gonna let you know when for y'all to charge in. Now, so he ain't had to go to military. He ain't had to go to the army, none of that. This is a God that's smart, got power, sense, intelligence and everything else. So the only king that you will dwell in safety, is the greatest security and confidence without any fear of an enemy. See, God don't fear no enemy. He is a human being with power. So having God, that king, in the mix of them, and stood in no need of another king to protect and defend them. God was the best king they ever had. And see, that's what Samuel said. That's why he kind of disturbed, because you got a king that could protect you, defend you, and y'all just kept on serving Babylon that can't even save you. You know, this is a God can save you, feed you, you know, keep you from falling. You know, that was the kind of king that you had. That's the kind of king that you need. You know, a supernatural king. That's what I meant to say the first time. The supernatural king. You know, but when you saw, you know, that the king of Ammonites was moving against you, you said to me, no, we want a king, you know, to rule over us, even though the Lord your God was your king. But you still feel like you wanted a king. So now, here's the king that you had chosen. You know, the one that you asked for. You know, see, the Lord has set a king over you. You know, just what you asked for. See, God gonna give you what you asked for. But He also gonna have obstacles gonna come in your way. You know, and let you know. You know, that's the king that you had already. You gonna come right back to it, cause He gonna let you know I'm all that you need. You know, God is all that we need. That's the kind of king that you want. You know, that can protect you spiritual. That can see anything that you cannot see. You know, that can hear things that you cannot hear. You know, so that's a king. Samuel trying to tell them that's what you should have kept. You know, but now Samuel, you know the goodness. He's telling them the goodness of God. You know, God, all that He had done for them and their ancestors, but they refuse and they reject the only true supernatural King. You know, so God granted the nation request for a king. You know, but His command and requirement remained the same. That God was to be their true king, and both saw in the people, you know, was to be subject to His law. You know, and see, that's another thing. That's why they want to reject God, because He had rules. You know, that's just like when your mama telling your children what to do. They're mumbling and saying stuff. You know, wants to keep on staying out the room and all that. She got too many rules. So that's what it was. They want to reject God because He had rules and He will discipline them, and they had to obey by His rules. So they figure, we gonna get a king that we don't have to go by no rules, and that's what they thought. Until now, Saul coming with boundaries. Remember, yesterday, boy, he coming with boundaries and rules and everything else. That's why they were trying to get rid of Saul yesterday. They don't want to abide by nobody's rules. You know, so what to be subject to His law, they didn't want to go by God's law. You know, though with a king, you know, but they wanted a king, and so they wanted a king so they could get away with stuff. You know, no person is ever exempt from God's law. You know, that's why we have laws today. You know, because back then God had created all these laws, and He had Moses to be writing this stuff down. You know, so that's why we have law. We can't be in the world without no law. You got to have law to have to be organized, to have policies set up. You know, all this started back then. You know, when God created this law, policies, and everything else. You know, so God is the true king of every area of our life. You know, we all must recognize the kingship and the pattern of our relationship, work life, home life, and according to His principle. You know, just like us in this world. We can't be in this world without no rules and law. We gotta abide by it. And so that's what God said. You can't be exempt from His law, His rules, His command. That's something that have to take place. You know, so if you fear the law and serve and obey Him, and do not rely against His command, you know, and if you both, you and the king, you know, these rules go for the king too, you know, because the king be messing up too. Now, who ran over you followed the law, the God of good, you know, but if you do not obey the law, and if you rebel against Him, you know, His command, you know, His hand will be against you, you know, as it was against your ancestors. You know, their ancestor had messed up too. That's what Samuel tell them. They messed up too. God had to put His hands over them too. You know, He said He would do the same thing to y'all. You know, so now then, Samuel had told them, stand still. Stand still and see the great thing the Lord is about to do before your eyes. See, God could do some kind of miracles right before your eyes. That's why Samuel said, stand still. Stand still, and see the greatness, the goodness of God, right before your eyes. So that's what Samuel telling them. Stand still, and you're going to see the deliverance. You're going to see the power. You're going to see the miracles, and it's going to be done right before your eyes. So Samuel is trying to get their attention. He's trying to get their attention because, see, he's stepping down. So he's trying to let the Israelite know, you can't exempt from God's law, His rules, none of that. You got to abide by it. So Samuel's trying to get their attention. Now Israel needs a reminder that it had rejected God as their king. Stand still, and see the great things. The Lord is about to do before your eyes. So Samuel has said he did ask for thunder and rain, and the Lord provide both. So forcefully, that the people think they is about to die, and the Israel kept casting God off. And see, Samuel telling them, it was wrong for y'all to ask for a king when you had the best supernatural spiritual king that you will be protected. He can see spiritual stuff and all kinds of stuff that you cannot see. So Samuel kind of disturbed with that. So by asking them to stand still and see that he urged them to be active and look for the display of God's power. And that's what he's saying. You stand still and you just watch, some miracle and a power from God. So is not. We hungry now. I would call on the Lord. See, then everything dry right now. Samuel got a close connection with God. So he said, I'm going to call on God, for him to send some thunder, so he can send some rain. Everything is dry right now. It's harvest time, It's harvest time, So even though it's harvest time, he about to Samuel about to let them know it's harvest time, everything dry. Well, I'm about to call on God. God gonna send some thunder. He gonna send some rain, and that's why he told them, stand still and see the miracle and the power that God about to do right before your eyes. That's why he said, everything is dry right now. No harvest and no nothing. It's even dry, they can't produce no food and none of that. So he said, okay, everything dry, but I'm about to call on God for him to send some thunder and send some rain, and y'all to keep on standing still. And you about to see the power that God about to do right before your eyes. So there was no rain. And Samuel said he would call on God. So the harvest came near the end of the dry season. During the month of May and June. And we in May right now. And because rain rarely fell during this period of time. A great thunderstorm was considered a miracle event, but it was not, a beneficial miracle. However, because rain during the harvest time, caused them to rot quickly. It's heat, and no rain, so everything just getting rotten quick. So this usually show God's displeasure, with Israel demanding for a king. So they did that, God did that because they asked for a king. He let it be dry. So now we in May? And we constantly getting rain, so it really supposed to rain in May and June, but why they want to ask for a king, God let it be dry. That's why Samuel said, I'm about to call on God for thunder and rain. Y'all just stand still and watch the deliverance, the power that God about to bring right before your eyes. So then Samuel had called on the Lord, and that same day the Lord sent thunder, and he said rain. So all the people had stood and watched the Lord and Samuel. So God is with power, has sent thunder and has sent rain, and the people had feared the Lord. See, when they saw that, that's why Samuel told me, I need y'all to just stand still, You know, God about to show some power right before y'all eyes. See when God show that power before y'all, and He remember I told you like 2 days ago, God verse sometimes can be in thunder, sometimes He can have a soft verse. You know, but this time He came in thunder. You know, till it shook the Israelite up. You know, shook them up till they started fearing the Lord. You know, so the people all said to Samuel, pray for us. You see, they think they're about to die now. They said, Samuel, pray for us. Okay, we did wrong. Okay, we asked for a king. We know it's wrong. But pray for us, Samuel. Pray to God for us. So we won't die. You know? So we have to add to all the other sin, you know, and evil of asking for a king. You know, so they know it's a sin. That's what Samuel's trying to let them know. It's a sin that you want a king over a supernatural king, a best king that you have already. You know, so how did Israel realize by asking for a king that was wrong, and asked Samuel to pray? You know, to pray to God for them so they won't die. You know, so do not be afraid. You know, Samuel replied, you have done all this evil, but yet do not turn away from the Lord. You know, but serve the Lord with all your heart. You know, so do not turn away after your useless, you know, idols, and they can do you no good. So Samuel let him know all this other stuff, even that you worshiping, you know, Samuel said it can't do you no good. You know, it can't rescue you, cannot save you, because they are useless. And that's what Samuel's telling them. Y'all keep on worshiping all this stuff. You know, it's useless. This thing cannot rescue you, cannot save you, cannot protect you. This thing can't do nothing for you. You know, so Samuel is telling them to stop serving things that cannot serve you. And that's what we have to do today. You know, we have to stop serving things, you know, that cannot benefit. We cannot benefit from it. You know, we have to keep our eyes on God, keep on focusing and moving ahead. We don't have time to be we don't have time to be serving and entertaining things that don't mean us no good at all. You know, that cannot save us, cannot pay our rent, cannot do none of it. You remember Saul yesterday, you know, the same people that criticized him. He had to rescue them in their city. You know, and see, that's how God works. You know, all those prophets, all the children, no matter what people do, we still have to be right in God's eyesight and still help others. And that's what Saul did. You know, that's why the other day he was silent when the guys were criticizing him. You know, he was doing the right thing. And the second day he did the right thing again. You know, he went into battle, not for him and the Israelites, for the ones that had criticized him. You know, and he rescued him in that city. You know, for the sake of a great name, the Lord will not reject his people, no matter what. God gonna discipline the Israelites. You know, he might sell them and this and that, but he's still watching over them. You know, he will not fully abandon them. You know, but he had to discipline them. You know, so the Lord was pleased to make you his own. And see, that's what Samuel said. Samuel said, you got a God that loves you. You know, you got the God, you know, the plan that he made out, he wanted to follow along just like he had wrote it. You know, so God did not choose them because they deserve it. You know, because he made a promise with their ancestors, and in order that they might become his channel of blessing to all the people. Now, God also had chose the people of Israel. You know, that he would never abandon them, you know, because they were his special nation. And see, that was God wanted them to be different, you know, from the other nation. And the other day, they kept on saying, we want to be just like the other nation. We want a king just like them. We want a king that's going to go to battle for us. And that's what Saul did yesterday. He went to battle for them. You know, but then after the battle, you know, Saul come with rules, come with boundaries. You know, so they don't like nobody that come with rules and stuff. We reject God with rules. And then we got a king that giving us rules? Oh, no. Who said we need a king? So then they start questioning, and he will often punish them for their disobedience in order to bring them back to the right relationship with him. So that's why that's why Samuel's talking to them and trying to teach them, eventually for them to come back to God. So as this Samuel talking, he said, as for me, far be it, from me that I shouldn't sin against the law by failing to pray for you. So he feels type of way with them, but he said he would not, sin. He would have to still pray for the Israelite, and I will teach them the way that it is good in the right eye of God. But he's sure to fear the Lord, you know, and serve him faithfully. Now Samuel telling you gotta fear God, and then you gotta serve him faithfully, with all your heart, consider what great things that he had done for you. But yet if you persist, in doing evil, keep on doing evil, worshiping other gods, you know, even now both you and your king will be punished. So now he not only just talking to Israelite, he also is talking to Saul also, that he can't sin and mess up and stray to Israel no kind of way. You remember Moses went up there and talking to God to do the tablet. Then he come down, Aaron supposed to be the leader. That he was in a mix of making the stuff for the Israelite. So that's why he's saying, both of y'all, the Israelite and Saul as the king. So the people responsibility, Samuel trying to tell them they should pray consistently, for others. And the Israelite didn't agree with that. But Samuel said you have to pray for others. You can't just pray for yourself. And two, they should teach others the right way, for God. They don't know. How they gonna teach somebody else? When they got to keep on trying to get back with God. So Samuel disagreed with the Israelites demanding for a king, but assured them that he will pray for them. He will teach them. So that's what he was saying. He said no matter what, he said, I disagree with them, but I have to pray for them. He said, I will pray for them. Now this is the second time in his farewell speech that Samuel reminded the people to take time to consider what great things God had done for them. And I does that all the time, and that's how you can get through your trials and stuff. Samuel had telling them, you either can write a list down or keep it stored in your mind. We have to remember the good things, that God had done for us. And see, that's what Samuel was telling them about their ancestors. That's why he was telling them all the things, the good things that God done for your ancestors. And God did some good things for y'all too. Just keep on remembering the good things that God did. So we have to realize God's goodness, and strengthen our faith. And that's what I'm doing today. And so see, that's what Samuel is telling them in his speech. He's telling them, recognize God's goodness. Recognize his goodness and strengthen your faith. Because you recognize his goodness, you won't keep on serving Babylon. Buying down to something that cannot move, cannot protect you, cannot save you, can't do anything for you. So that's what Samuel was saying in his speech. It's a farewell speech because he's letting them know I'm old, I got gray, I'm barely standing, so I'm letting y'all know I'm stepping down. So he also teaching them about their history, or their ancestors back in the day. So, and that's why I'm saying our history is very important because everything that go on, you always got to track back, of your history. Especially with any kind of strange symptom that you might have. Your mama and daddy may not have, but your ancestor might have. So that's why it's important that we know about our ancestors back in the day. And that's why Samuel had to tell them about their ancestors. He had to tell them about the first ancestor. Remember, he told them about Jacob. You know, Jacob. Had to go to Egypt, and his family was already in Egypt. And it was in was in slavery when God had to rescue them. So he went all the way back to the first group. Cause they didn't know about their history. We don't know about our ancestors back in the day until somebody tell us, or we read about it. So that's all I have for you today. I have I also have a little short news. Tyre Nichols. So a new photograph it heavy, honor the life of Tyre. So a new photograph. They were trying to place up, like a poster, in Pine Spring, California, a tribute to the life of Tyre, who died in January of this year. So after being brutally beaten, by the Memphis police officer following a traffic stop, they wanted, to place a photograph up to honor Tyre Nichols, a life, who died, being beaten, but they declined, but we will always remember him. We will always remember him and the others who died in a brutal way. So they don't have to place it up there. We still gonna remember him. We still gonna honor him. So that was the story on Tyre Nichols. There was time put a big old post up there in Palm Spring. But they declined. They were gonna honor him. A life that had died in January. But they didn't want to place it up there. They declined it. So but we gonna always still remember him. Always still remember him and anybody else. All the rest of them that died in the brutal way. We still gonna remember them. So that's all the word in the news that I have for you today. Y'all have a blessed, safe day, and I'll see y'all in the next video.